There's a fear buried inside you that feels stronger than the fear of dying. You have felt it. That tight, sick feeling in your chest before you send a text you might get ignored. The dread of walking into a room where no one turns to look at you. The sting of watching a group of friends laugh at a joke you were not part of. None of that threatens your life, and yet your body reacts as if it does. Why would evolution build something so intense around a feeling that cannot actually kill you? The obvious answer seems simple. Humans are social animals, so of course rejection feels bad. But that explanation is too easy, and it hides something much stranger. Because the fear you carry was not designed for awkward moments at parties or unanswered messages. It was designed for a world where being disliked was a death sentence. To understand this, you have to go back, not to a specific date, but to a specific kind of life. A life that shaped almost every emotional reflex you still carry today. For most of human history, survival was never really about individual strength. A single human, alone in the wilderness, was not a predator. Without claws, without thick fur, without speed, a lone human was closer to prey. What kept your ancestors alive was the group. The group found food when one person could not. The group defended against danger in the night. The group shared knowledge passed down over generations about which plants were safe and which paths led to water. A human without a group was not simply lonely. A human without a group was, statistically, a human who would not survive long. This is where the story becomes more interesting than it first appears. If group survival mattered this much, then evolution would not just favor humans who could cooperate. It would favor humans who were terrified of losing their place in the group, terrified of being seen as a burden, terrified of doing something that made others want to leave them behind. In other words, natural selection did not just build cooperation into the human brain, it built exile anxiety into the human brain. And this is the part most people never learn in school. Ancient humans were not simply afraid of lions or falling or the dark. Underneath all of that, there was a deeper fear running the whole system. The fear of being cast out. Anthropologists studying small-scale societies, from hunter-gatherer groups to early agricultural communities, have found something consistent across cultures separated by oceans and thousands of years. Banishment, not execution, was often the most severe punishment a community could use. In many groups, killing a member was rare. Expelling them was common. Why would expulsion be considered worse, in some cases, than death itself? Because outside the group, in that world, death was almost guaranteed anyway. Just slower, just lonelier. A person cast out did not get a quick ending. They got days, sometimes weeks, of facing the world completely undefended before starvation, exposure, or a predator finished what isolation had already started. So your ancestors' brains learned something brutal but effective. Rejection is not a smaller danger than death. Rejection is the beginning of death. This is where modern psychology reconnects with ancient survival. In the early 2000s, psychologist Kipling Williams ran an experiment that would later become one of the most cited studies in social psychology. Participants played a simple ball-tossing game with two other people, believing them to be fellow participants. In reality, those other players were part of the experiment. And at a certain point, they simply stopped passing the ball. That was the entire manipulation. No insults, no confrontation, just being quietly left out of a virtual game of catch. The brain scans told a startling story. The same regions that activate during physical pain, the anterior cingulate cortex among them, lit up when people were excluded. Not metaphorically, not as a figure of speech. The brain processed social rejection using overlapping circuitry to physical injury. Your mind does not have a separate system for emotional pain and physical pain. It borrowed one system to build the other. This is not a flaw in human wiring. It is a feature inherited from a time when being excluded truly was as dangerous as being wounded. But here is where the story shifts again. Because this fear did not stay in the background. It shaped the architecture of your personality in ways you have probably never noticed. Consider why humans are so sensitive to tone of voice, to a slight change in facial expression, to a friend who seems distant for one day. That hypersensitivity is not overreaction. It is an ancient alarm system, tuned over hundreds of thousands of years, scanning constantly for the earliest signs that your standing in the group might be slipping. Consider why public speaking ranks in survey after survey among the most common fears people report sometimes ranked even above the fear of death. Standing in front of a group, exposed to potential judgment from many people at once, triggers something ancient. Your brain is not afraid of the microphone. It is afraid of collective disapproval, the modern echo of standing before a tribal council that could decide your fate. And consider why criticism, even from a stranger online, someone whose opinion has zero real consequence for your life, can ruin an entire day. Your rational mind knows the comment does not matter. Your ancient alarm system does not check with your rational mind first. This is the unexpected discovery hiding underneath all of it. The fear was never really about death. Death was simply the final outcome of a much earlier problem. Losing your place among people who kept you alive. Which means the emotion you feel when you are ignored, excluded, or judged is not an overreaction. It is a message from a very old part of your mind, one that has not caught up to the fact that a bad text message thread will not leave you stranded in the wilderness. This explains something strange about modern life. Humans today are, in almost every measurable way, safer than any humans in history. Fewer predators, more food security, laws instead of banishment. And yet anxiety, loneliness, and the fear of social judgment have not disappeared. If anything, they show up constantly, in surveys, in mental health data, in the quiet moments before opening a phone to check for a reply. That is because the alarm system built for ancient exile never got an update. It still treats a silent group chat the way your ancestors' brains treated silence from the tribe around the fire. It still treats being unfollowed the way it once treated being left behind on the trail. Social media did not invent this fear. It found an ancient circuit and gave it a constant, endless supply of triggers. Every notification, every like, every read receipt is quietly interpreted by a very old part of your brain as evidence about whether you still belong. This is not a weakness unique to you. It is a shared inheritance running in the background of nearly every person scrolling through a phone right now, wondering why silence from one person can feel so heavy. And once you see it this way, something changes. The next time your chest tightens because someone did not reply, or because a room went quiet when you walked in, that feeling is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that you are carrying a survival system built by ancestors who needed to notice rejection instantly, because for them, noticing late could mean not noticing at all. You are not overreacting. You are remembering in a body that does not know the calendar has changed. The fear of being cast out was never really about being alone. It was about disappearing from the only thing that ever kept humans alive, each other. And maybe that is the real reason this feeling has never faded, even in a world full of comfort and safety. Somewhere behind every uneasy silence, every unanswered message, every fear of being judged, there is still a small ancient voice asking the same question your ancestors asked around every fire they ever built. Am I still one of you? That question built civilization. It built friendship, loyalty, language, and love. And it is still, quietly, running every single day inside you.